Hello, bestie, and welcome to the newest episode of the Plobcast. As always, this podcast is not for little ears. I'm also going to warn you before saying some things that you shouldn't be eating around because while there are some normal stories included in this week, there's a couple that made me want to throw up. So just don't worry. I'll warn you when we're about to talk about gross stuff that you shouldn't eat around, and then I'll let you know when it's safe to eat again. If you don't know, I will actually be going out of town for a couple of weeks starting this weekend, but I'm going to pre-record. I'm also going to be having some people that I am visiting, family members and friends, talk about their plow experiences and stuff, and we'll try to do like a multi-person show, podcast, whatever it's called. Is it called a show? I don't know, because we're not on video, so I don't think there's a show. I don't care whatever. The point is recording people, right? Speaking of, I have gotten a few requests from people to be able to bring them onto the podcast. And I am going to start doing that. I have a cousin who's going to be helping me figure out the tech, but I've already got some people who want to go on it, so that is perfect. And please feel free to continue to request that. I will say that I had somebody I was going to test run that with this week for Thursday's episode. It was somebody that I had met in person before, but I didn't know that much. They went to the game store and stuff, and, I was like, oh, would you ever want to, share this? Because you're, one of the people I know that actually bathes at the card shop. Every time I go in, they smell normal. And then I looked on their Facebook. There was a lot of homophobic shit on there, talking about how they believe that gay men are going to hell and blah blah blah, but they support lesbians because it's hot, and they think that they can turn lesbians because lesbians just haven't had the right man and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, no, we don't care about your opinion here, because it is very very wrong. So I don't want a bunch of wrong opinions on the podcast. I don't do homophobia, I don't do racism, I don't do sex, any of that. I meant to say I don't do sexism, not I don't do sex. So I apologize that I sound ridiculous right now. I have picked something up. I had some sort of virus or cold. I don't know what's going on. But I cannot breathe out my nose. I kind of sound like Fran Drescher right now. And to be clear, I have no problem debating people. I don't mind. I have friends that have other opinions, different opinions and stuff like that. But when it crosses over into hating somebody because of their sexuality or their race or anything, that's not a difference of opinion. That's you being an asshole. Speaking of assholes, I had the unfortunateness of accidentally seeing Lily Tino's asshole. Oh my god, what the fuck? Why do y'all tag me in this shit? So I had somebody who earlier this week, because we were talking about the Lily Tino situation, and they sent me this Reddit link to this post that, now it was not the nudes exactly. So the post was it was a subreddit or whatever. I'm not great with Reddit, but it's a subreddit, and it was people talking about stuff she's done and showing videos of catching her doing all kinds of fucked up stuff. And as I'm scrolling, without warning, there's just her nudes. Lily Tino's full. What the hell? Why was there no warning? Most of the time, I notice Reddit does if it's something graphic, it's supposed to do the little blurry thing where you have to click view image first. It did not do that. It did not do that for me. I was just scrolling, watching the videos of her getting exposed for being an asshole and being a creep and a perv, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing everything down there. I did not need to see that. Reddit needs to fix their shit so they censor those, all of those photos, not just some of them. I think I got pink eye just from looking at it. And to be absolutely clear, if somebody has somehow not figured this out by now, I have no problem with sex work. That is not the problem here. It's the problem that the problem is I didn't need to see that. I need a warning. Okay, you don't. That is not my preference. I did not need to see Lily Tino's butthole. Okay, or her clue, as she called it. I don't need to see any of that. Why are we showing people that? Come on now. Okay, I'm sure that there's people who probably pay to see it. I'm not one of them. I didn't want to see it, okay? Speaking of consensual sex work, this is your reminder that it is not okay to masturbate in Disney World for your OnlyFans around children. Because if you missed that video where I'm going out of town, and one of the places I'm going is Orlando, I was trying to look up stuff, and it changed my FYP to a lot of videos of Disney World, even though I'm not going to Disney World. And all of a sudden, there's a woman on my FYP talking about how she snuck an adult toy into the parks and is showing her using it with children beside her. And at first I thought it was rage bait, and then a bunch of us went and looked at the spicy page that she has, and it's not rage bait. She's masturbating with children around. That is fucking disgusting. She needs to be on a list. She needs to, that is not okay. And the people that were supporting it just as much, because apparently somebody was like looking at like all the comments supporting it and finding them and screenshotting where these are all grown men with like children. Almost all of her supporters were grown men with children. Like, these are fathers watching a woman, paying a woman to masturbate in Disney World around children. It's not fucking okay. I was just up here trying to look up freaking local restaurants in Orlando, small businesses and stuff to visit, and all of a sudden I'm doing Chris Hansen's job for him. Okay, let's get into the GameStop stories. I got distracted by the grossness that I've had to be forced to watch on my FYP, and I've literally reported so many of them. TikTok never takes it down. It'll be like, no violation. It's like, dude, it's literally corn. Well, porn, I could say that on here. I keep forgetting. I don't have to be censored on here. But yeah, it's literally porn, dude. But then you've got women who are getting their videos removed because they wore spaghetti straps. What in the fucking high school dress code shit is going on? This is your last chance to put any food that you have down, because this next story that was sent in to me is going to get really gross and nasty. I've not told this one on TikTok yet. I will tell a censored version on TikTok, so if you see it come up, feel free to take your emotional support squish and keep scrolling if you don't want to have to hear it again. Especially because this is going to be the more detailed version of this message that was sent to me. So I was sent a message by a former card store. It was another one of those card stores that's like half gaming, half cards. And this worker was a woman. She was in her early 20s, and they would go do like local events. So if you've ever been to like Free Comic Book Day or something like that, they did a lot of events like that where they would, advertise for their business and try to get more customers, and they do sales. And this card store had an OC basically made. They had a mascot, and it was like an anime girl that somebody had drawn. Regular little mascot girl, like a lot of stores do. I've even seen like even small vendors online and stuff do it, even if they don't have a physical store. But point is, they had a mascot, and they used to have a random worker dress up as the mascot during these events so that they could, represent their store. They're just passing out flyers, basically just standing out there getting paid to be in cosplay and pass out flyers and advertise for them, right? She said it was her 6th event, because she was there a couple years. It was her 6th event doing that particular job for the event, because she'd been at the store for 2 years. She puts on the outfit as always. She said she's always gotten like guys to be creepy, which I can tell you is as somebody who's cosplayed for a very long time, it is sadly it's to be expected. My best friend literally has to walk around behind me at conventions because of how many times we've caught people red-handed trying to freaking take pictures up my skirt if I'm in like Juliet from Lollipop Chainsaw or anything, or Diva or anything like that. Even had a couple at MomoCon when I was in my KDA cosplay. But she said nothing prepared her for what she ended up having to deal with at this particular event. So she is having a regular day, passing out the flyers, trying to get people to come into the sale, everything. Basically just the cosplay version of like a sign flipper, like just getting people to come in, right? And she's having a couple people who wanted to take pictures with her. Completely normal. She said the same thing that she's always dealt with, right? Well, this particular like outfit, the mascot cosplay they had a top and shorts, like a crop top, so part of her back is exposed. She said she'd had people be creepy about like coming over and wanting to like touch her skin in the pictures and stuff, wrap their arm around her. She'd be like, no. But she had this one guy come over. She told him before they even took the picture that he could not wrap her arm around her. Like, he could not wrap his arm around her. You know what he did anyways? He wraps his arm around her, but it's somehow worse than just that. He wraps his arm around her. She's, the friend's taking the picture, and she's trying to be, like, polite, even though she just told him no, which, please, girl, don't do that. If somebody does, girl, boy, man, woman, I don't care who you are. If you tell somebody not to touch you and they do it anyways, please knock the shit out of them, because that is assault. Them touching you after you just told them no, I'm throwing hands. But she was trying to be polite, and she let him do it, and she feels something nasty and like wet and like gross on her back, and she said it felt like yogurt. And as he goes to take away from the picture, he like slides his fingers a little bit on her skin. And he then goes, lets go of her, thanks her for the picture. And she is trying not to make a scene because she is like, what is on me? She feels something on her. She goes inside, letting her boss know what's going on because she's, non-confrontational. She didn't know how to handle it. She's like, yeah. And he looks at her back and he starts gagging. And she starts like squealing and freaking out. She's like, what is it? What is it? What is it? And he's like, it's, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. She's like, no, just tell me, what is it? Oh God, is it cum or something? And he's like, no, it's somehow worse. It was dick cheese. It was dick cheese. He said the guy smelled super bad already. But like, to know that he rubbed his dick cheese on her. And if you don't know what that is, it is a bacterial buildup that forms around the penis when you do not clean yourself for very long extended periods of time. Like, to form that much that somebody could wipe it off their dick and then wipe it onto somebody else and be chunky on her back, that means this man probably had not washed his dick in like months at that point. Because she said it was like a good glob of it on there. And they're 99% sure this guy did this on purpose, because whenever, after this interaction, the manager goes to run outside to go find this guy, right? Because he's like, no, hell no, you just assaulted one of my employees. What the fuck is, you literally rubbed your fucking bodily fluids on her. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? He goes to run outside. They're gone. Their car's not even there. Like, they literally did this, took picture, as soon as she walked off, I guess, ran to their car and left. If you did not know that you were wrong, like, if you genuinely did not see anything wrong with what you were doing and didn't do it on purpose, you wouldn't have ran. There's no reason for you to have jumped in your car and fucking sped off if you did not do that on purpose and you didn't see anything wrong with what you were doing. You knew. You fucking knew, you nasty ass fucking blobs. That whole story time reminded me of this. You still can't eat, just a heads up. I don't recommend eating because it's somehow going to get worse. It reminded me of a girl I know when I was a teenager. She was really insecure because she was a bigger girl. She had a lazy eye. She was not traditionally attractive. I thought she was beautiful, but she wasn't a traditionally attractive woman, and she ended up dating a plob. Like, this guy, from the second he got out of school, would just play Halo 24/7, like constant, was complete Halo addict, and he stunk. He stunk so bad. You could smell him coming like a fucking mile away. Dude was notorious for, like, if he came up to you, because he was a bigger guy, he was a plus size guy, you could see, like, almost every time I would see this man, he would literally have food in the rolls of his neck. You could see it. But he ends up asking her out, and I'm like, girl, please no, like, please no. She's like, well, nobody's ever asked me out, and like, I really want to go to homecoming, and I don't want to be like by myself, and all, And I'm like, girl, it's better to go by yourself than to go with a plum. But she did it anyways, and he bought her flowers. It's funny is he didn't even do it because he like was trying to be sweet and romantic. He later admitted that his mom made him buy her the flowers and stuff because he was just gonna like meet her there and shit. Like, he didn't. Dude was just trying to get fucking laid. He even, like, later on, we ended up finding out his mom was even the one that sent, like, the sweet text to her. Because she'd be like, oh, but he's so sweet. Yeah, maybe I could just convince him to shower at some point. Like, no, his mom was sending her the sweet texts while he was playing Halo to help wingman him. She probably didn't want her son to freaking live with her forever. So she's probably trying to pawn him off on this poor girl. That's the only explanation I can think of for a mother to, like, do that. To, like, literally be trying to wingman your own. So texting his girlfriend, pretending to be him. Like, while he's playing Halo. My guess was she was like planning for the future. She's like, I don't want this man to still be living me at 30. Let me like help him get a woman so that she can deal with him. But homecoming night rolls around, and I graduated high school early, if you don't know, 3 years early. So I get a text though from her, and she is like, oh my God, I think I need to go to the clinic, blah blah blah. And I'm like, what? It is, first of all, ma'am, it is like 3 a.m. What the fuck is going on? Turns out, oh God, this is so gross to think about. Sorry, my alarm randomly went off. But yeah, so after homecoming night, they did their little dance and stuff. He brought her the flowers. He started guilt tripping her about like, oh, I did all this stuff for you. Aren't we gonna do something afterwards? And she was like, she didn't necessarily, it wasn't like a religious thing where she wanted to like be a virgin for her wedding or anything, but she didn't want to like rush into things. So she offers, like, he's like, oh, can't you do something for me? So the whole back and forth happens until she finally agrees to give this man a blowjob. Well, she starts going down there, and she said she physically gagged before she even apparently it was really small too, before she even put the 2 inches in her mouth because of the smell. But I could just, like, a mental image of this is so fucking weird. She said she held her nose. Because, like, how they say, like, if you hold your nose, like, I don't know if you guys remember, it was like really big in the 90s and the early 2000s. If there was a medicine that tasted nasty, you were told to hold your nose and it would make it so you couldn't taste the taste as much. So she decided to try that while blowing him. And after like, she said it was like after like 30 seconds or so, she felt this like stuff in her mouth, right? So she comes back up and was like, "Oh, you're already done? I didn't even realize." He was like, "Oh, no, I'm not." And she's like, "Well, what is this?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, that's just the stuff that's always around my dick and stuff. Like, that's pretty normal. All guys get that all the time. Like, it's always on there." She ends up throwing up on him. Which, okay, valid, girl valid. She apparently ran off, called her mom to come pick her up. They left early. He got pissy with her too. Like, he was screaming at her about how, oh, every guy has that. But first, no, the fuck they don't. Because majority of men wash their dicks. Yeah, most guys are not walking around with that nastiness in their pants, sir. He said it was literally like he had stuck his dick in cottage cheese or like scooped it onto a fucking spoon and was just piling it on his dick. She said she didn't realize it at first because when she was like holding her nose and stuff, it was like blocking her eyes and she couldn't really see. And he was like trying to guide her head with her hair. That's why she didn't realize until she felt that in her mouth like 30 seconds in. He was like screaming about how she was blue balling him and such a tease and stuff, and she's literally over here puking. Like, she is puking on the phone with her mom trying to get a ride back. He is in the background. She said her mom could even hear him in the background, like yelling at her about how she was such a tease and a prude and blah blah, and nobody was gonna love her because every guy has that and all this bullshit. The irony of him, he was like degrading her too, like calling her names. So I'm sitting here like, bitch, you are literally, first of all, how are you gonna make fun of her weight when you weigh more than her, bitch? Like, how are you over here degrading this woman when you are like a fucking, oh my, you're the problem, my guy. What in the heck? What audacity? What in the delulu? What drugs are you on, sir? What mental illness is that you've convinced yourself that she's the problem? But the reason she called me is she I felt so bad. I'm sorry to laugh, but she like started looking it up, and this is, back in the day when we had like the slider phones with the internet and stuff. So like you had to get on Google on the computer and stuff because internet like cost so much there was no unlimited data back then. Plus it was super slow anyways. But yeah, she goes and looks it up and she sees all this stuff about STDs and she is like panicking, thinking it's an STD. And I had to be the one to explain to her that no, it's just dick cheese. And that's why she was calling me saying she thought she needed to go to a clinic and she was like so scared. The good news of this situation, though, is there was a little bit of karma here. He ends up going to Friday Night Magic. The next week he goes to Friday Night Magic, and I have a family member that was there that night too. So I'm so mad that I wasn't there that night because I would have loved to witness this. Apparently he went in and he was like trying to rant to the other guys that were all playing Magic about how like, oh, she freaked out over the dick cheese and all this shit. Well, he just called it build up. And was talking about, oh yeah, like every single guy that she's gonna die alone like a cat lady because she can't handle build up. And apparently a couple of the other men were like, ew, what the fuck do you mean? They called him out on it and was like, yeah, that's not normal, that's disgusting, what the fuck do you mean, that's so gross, you nasty motherfucker. And they started calling him DC. And I heard somebody, I think it was like 2-3 years ago, I actually heard somebody say that they were still calling him that to this day, calling him DC, dick cheese. So at least there's some people out there giving him some karma, calling him Dick DC. Dick. I can't. Oh my God. Imagine you meet somebody, like you get a new friend or something, and and they're like, why is your nickname DC? And you then have to explain that the reason everybody is calling you DC is because you're a nasty ass freaking plob. I fully admit I love when bad people or nasty people will try to talk to a group of people that they think are going to condone or approve their bad behavior, and instead those people call them out on it and being like, no, that's disgusting, that's gross. Because sadly there are groups of people who will justify somebody else's bad behavior, and it just ends up like worsening the cycle, and it just keeps getting put on repeat. Like how we've talked about the incels mothers who will be like, oh no honey, It's not your fault that you did something horrible. You're my perfect baby. It's totally fine that you piss in bottles. I'll just go throw them away for you so you don't have to go to the bathroom while gaming. Yet doing behavior like that is why they don't stop. Because why would they stop? You're telling them that it's okay by condoning that behavior. So when someone, someone that they believe is going to justify them instead calls them out, it hits a lot harder than having an outside group try to call them out for it. Oh, and just in case anybody's wondering, she is actually doing amazing. I haven't spoke to her in a few years, not because of any bad reason, but just, I moved halfway across the country. She is actually married with a child now, happily. She has been for a few years now, so don't worry. She got a happy ending. And last time I checked, he is still single. So, if any femcells or, female plobs out there want a man, let me know. I'll send you his Facebook. We won't even have to get arrows from Cupid. We'll just use his scent trail, like the stank trail, just right up into your nose. Just like that in an episode of Family Guy where Peter just flies while sniffing the is it like a blueberry pie or something, and then like the pie scent pulls him in. Yeah, that's the stank. We can just do that with his stank. We'll get you a nice plob boyfriend. I'm sorry. Please don't actually date this person. I'm joking. Please don't do that, because then these plobs think like it's okay to keep not showering. Please don't condone the not showering plobs. This next thing we are going to talk about you can eat for, so, once your stomach's settled from the dick cheese, our buddy DC over there, you can feel free to go back to eat. Don't worry. What I'm about to talk about next is not going to gross you out. This story isn't. So if you don't know, there was protests the other day for the No King's Day protests, and there's this clip that had me rolling on the floor, because it's not even like related to the politics of it. It is the way they are doing it. So somebody had a guy had dressed up as Trump in a Caesar outfit, and then had his wife, who's dressed up as, well, I assume it's his wife, might be his girlfriend, I don't know, but had her dressed up as Lady Liberty and like was hauling him around on a leash, right? But here's the thing and a lot of us in the kink community have been joking about this. I have talked with so many other dominatrix about this shit, because in the video, this man is enjoying it just a little bit too much. He is just a little too excited to have his wife dragging him around on a freaking leash and collar. I feel like the conversation that led up to this freaking thing was he probably came up and was like, hey, comes right up to his wife and he's like, hey, so like, do you think you'd be into me painting my face orange and you walking me around on a leash while dressed as Lady Liberty? And the wife was probably like, oh, that's a great idea for the protest. Yeah, we'll stick it to Trump by doing this. Like, that's a great idea. And the guy's probably over there like, yeah, that's all. That's the only reason I want to do that. Just for the protest. Definitely nothing else. Like, this guy was just he was just too excited, man. He was just too excited. The way he even walked perfectly with the leash, because it is like, oh my gosh, there's like training within the kink world, if you're unaware, like men who have this kink, or women, there's women that have this kink too, but like men who have the kink to like be walked on a leash and stuff, there's training, almost like you would do a dog, like to walk a very specific way so that you're not like choking yourself, nothing's getting caught, nothing, back and forth, you're pacing it perfectly. And the way this man was pacing himself perfectly, dude, look, as somebody who has a lot of experience with guys like that, because that's how I've been saving up for my PhD is online dommy, but like I've done events and stuff too. I've literally held the key to a over 7 foot Marine drill instructor who had to have a waiver because he was so big to get in the Marines. Like, and I can smell these guys out a mile away, like knowing that they're secretly super submissive in the bedroom. I'm telling you, that guy enjoyed that leash just a little bit too much. It's so funny to watch the full video, which you can find on TikTok, and I'm going to end up reposting it too. But if you look, in the video, it looks like she's real serious, that she's grinning and stuff, but she looks like she's there for the protest. He looks like he's there because he just wants to be walked on a leash in public. It very much felt like one of those who's going to tell her moments. Speaking of, I saw a lot of people who were confused about the Army to Go tray that was going viral. I think it's got a few million views now. If you don't know, there was a soldier. I think she's like an E3 or something. She's pretty fresh. 6-sleeve, fresh out the gate looking. And she is showing what they fed her in the DFACT. And it's steak and lobster and like a Capri salad. And this really good stuff all in this condo. Like literal lobster and stuff, right? And people are all in the comments being like, oh God, who's going to tell her? And civilians seem to be really confused by that. So let me explain. Right before you deploy, right before they're going to send you into a shit show, they start feeding you very well in the DFAC in the Army. If you are getting ready to deploy, you will notice a sudden increase in that DFAC's food. So, for example, here at Fort Hood, because they just changed us back. It was Fort Hood, then Fort Cavos, and now it's Fort Hood again. It wastes literally millions of dollars that they've spent on like making all these new signs and everything. It's a whole nightmare. But anyways, here there's like different DFACs throughout the base, right? Like ones for the CAV, the multiple brigades from CAV will all go to that one. I mean, you can go to other ones. Like if you're in that area, you're working in that area, you can go to like any DFAC. But they're technically like they're placed in certain areas for a certain reason. And something people have noticed, this has been a thing for like decades. Like I've heard old heads talk about this, like old veterans even talk about how they used to do this crap to them too. What you'll notice is when a particular units and battalions and stuff are going to be deploying, all of a sudden that defect has got the nice, steak and lobster, exactly what she was showing, the steaks, lobsters, caprese salad, all of that. And it's so funny because this poor girl, she is so excited. She's like, oh my gosh, look at all this amazing food that they're giving us. And poor girl has no idea. And then the comments are just people being like, oh God, who's going to tell her? Like, make sure you update your SGLI and stuff. And, they also have this thing called war pizzas I'll talk about in a second. But for those of you who are confused, because I've seen so many civilians who are like, why are people freaking out about there being good food? Because there's more seasoned soldiers who are like, oh shit, we're getting good food, this is not going to end well. And people are like, why are soldiers complaining about getting good food? It's like, because that good food comes with a price. There's also this thing called war pizzas, and basically it's basically what it sounds like. Like higher ups and stuff, the big dogs and stuff will suddenly start having like pizza parties and stuff. There was a point where, oh gosh, I can't remember which deployment, like big deployment rotation it was. Was it Afghanistan? I can't remember which one it is. But there was like one years ago that Papa John's had like basically shut down for a day beside the Pentagon. Why did I say Pentagon? My bad. Oh no, I just checked. It was the Pentagon. Yeah, I was thinking it was the other one, but yeah. So what ended up happening is right before a lot of those deployments started, the Pentagon had like ordered a bunch of pizzas to the point where Papa John's had actually shut down for a full day to get all these pizzas for all these government employees and stuff. And then it was like 3 weeks later when they announced it, like, oh yeah, by the way, we're going to start deploying people out in rotations and stuff. And a lot of big chain of commands will literally have they basically have a pizza party. It's really weird. And it sounds made up. It sounds like it's absurd either, but you can Google this. It is a whole thing with like pre-deployment, pre-war pizzas. That's what they call them, is like pre-war pizzas or pre-deployment pizzas. The pizza party before the nightmare, the defects getting all the fancy food. Like it's a very real thing. I mean, of course, the Air Force doesn't get that because they get to eat steak and lobster every day. You motherfucking lazy chair forcers. Also, to be clear, as a veteran, I get to dog on the military, like the Air Force, and like sitting on their asses and Marines eating crowns. But if a civilian does it, I will spit in your fucking face because it's kind of like siblings. When you're in the military and you're a veteran, it's kind of like having siblings. You're allowed to mock them and mock each other, but if like somebody that's not related to you mocks them, then like we all beat your ass. That's kind of how that works. It's why that one girl, I can't think of her name, Mama something, a couple years ago ended up getting canceled because her whole page was making jokes about Marines and soldiers and airmen and stuff, and making these dark humor jokes about service members, and people had assumed that she was a veteran or at least a spouse or something, right? And then later they came to find out, no, she was just a random civilian that lived near a military base. So she had picked up on some of the lingo and like basically built her whole platform making those jokes and stuff. So that's why people were pissed at her, because people were like, why are you fine with the jokes before and now not? It's because it's a civilian mocking. I think she only lost like 20,000 followers or something anyway. She's still, because most of her followers were civilians anyways. So, but yeah, that's why people get upset about that, because it's like siblings. Like, we're allowed to mock each other, but like other people cannot mock us. Speaking of, there is a certain famous TikToker. I mean, not like mega famous. He's not millions. He's in millions, like some of them, but like he's still pretty big. Who is active duty? Who just got here to Fort Hood, and he's over in Cav, and I do not know how I'm going to take anything this man says seriously. I'm so glad that I'm not active duty anymore, because all I imagine is if I bump into this guy on base, I can't take anything he says seriously. I could not imagine having him as an NCO. And it's not in a mean way. It's just he makes very silly videos. I know his content, like, some of it is serious and stuff now, but when he first started, and I saw him when he first started a couple years ago, he made very goofy videos. And even though he wasn't like an E4, he kind of acted like an E4. Like, he was already in a higher rank by then, but like, he kind of had that goofing off, silly soldier, like, that vibe of this guy's never going to, like, be ranking up and stuff because he's the goofy, silly, the class clown kind of situation. And I think that might be why, like, he started making a little bit more serious content. But yeah, I don't know how any of us are going to take him seriously, because he is, like, hilarious. I feel so bad for the soldiers that are going to be under him. Not because I don't think he's a good leader. It's just, could you imagine being yelled at by this man after you've seen him do all this silly, crazy, funny stuff? That's all that's going to be going through your head. It's like if you were watching a party performer clown and then they start yelling at you, like, while in full clown gear. Like, they go from, like, blowing handkerchiefs out their nose and pulling them out of their throat, and then all of a sudden they turn and yell to you. That's what I feel like that's going to be like, which I think is just part of the price you pay with social media. For example, I had and this guy it was like a couple weeks ago, he recognized me off of TikTok, and he acted like really nervous around me, and I was like, what is happening? And then he said it was because all he kept thinking about was that one video where I did this video. If you've somehow not seen it, because it was pretty viral, there was a video of me exposing my internet search history, because a bunch of incels threatened to expose my internet search history, because they were like, we're going to show everybody what kind of porn you watch. And I'm like, joke's on you, I have no shame. And I just told the whole freaking internet. And what's funny is if you go in the comments on the video, there are so many people, mostly women, in the comments being like, oh, this is my preference, just to, like, basically take the power away from the incels, because you shouldn't have shame about that anyways. But this guy was like, yeah, that's why I feel a little nervous, because I, like, know that about you now. And I'm like, that's the price you pay with social media. That also can, like, apply to real life. For example, I saw the naked guy again the other day. Either that or he has, like, a long-lost twin. If you don't know, oh gosh, it was like a couple months ago. I had a doctor's appointment 2 hours away. There was a inpatient facility 20 minutes from my doctor's appointment, and my boss had been like, hey, can you pick this up, blah, blah, blah. Well, my old boss, because I'm not under that contract right now, but I just say my boss because you rotate when you're on research contracts. So the doctor I was working on was like, hey, can you just go pick this up? And I go drive over there, and, like, I'm immediately met with security, and they're like, why are you here? And I'm like, I'm just picking up, like, what do you mean, why am I here? I'm just here to pick this up. Like, my boss has called in, and they're like, oh, you need to stay in your car. There's an escape issue right now. I park my car. I look over. I notice there's a empty gurney sitting with an ambulance, and there's clothes on the ground, and I'm like putting two together, and I'm like, oh god, there's probably a naked person running around. And yep, naked man runs up to my car, lays his body on my hood for like 2 seconds, and then, like, runs off again. Dude was running off. Like, security did finally catch him and stuff, but I went to Walmart a couple weeks ago, or I don't think it's been a full 2 weeks. Not the point. The point was I went to Walmart the other day, and I saw this guy in a suit, and I was like, that's the dude. That's the naked dude. Either that or he's, his long-lost twin. And I feel bad, but that's what's always going to pop into my mind if I ever see that guy again. Like, that was my first thought was, dude, I saw this man's dick. Like, he literally laid his naked body on my freaking hood of my car for like 2 seconds. It's just one of those things. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just sometimes when you've seen somebody do something crazy or funny or silly or, like, ridiculous, it immediately pops in your head anytime you're trying to have a conversation with that person, especially if it's something silly or goofy and you're trying to have a serious conversation. Another example is, if you don't know, I saw my old first sergeant being walked on a leash by a dominatrix at an event and stuff. That luckily I saw that after I got out of the service, thank God. Which wasn't me judging him, obviously. I just talked about doing stuff like that myself, so I wasn't judging him. It's just a matter of, like, he was really sexist. Didn't believe women should be in all this crap. So then for him to for him to then be having a woman walk him around, it's like, now every time if I ever hear him make a sexist joke again, I'm not going to be able to take it seriously because I'm just going to imagine him on that leash. Speaking of things that I can't unsee, there is a comic book convention coming up, and it's a small one, and I was given free tickets for it, right? It's a small local one, and I started looking through who the vendors for this event are. And one of the sponsors for this small convention is the one particular game store that's like 45 minutes or so from me that is well known for having stinky plobs and having the grossest clientele. It is the one that people are oh gosh, you can even read the reviews on their Google reviews of people talking about how it's like the only one in our area that doesn't have a hygiene policy. So that's where they all go. That's where all of the nasty ones go. That's where they mostly do Warhammer and Magic the Gathering. Apparently they've done D&D before, but from the looks of it, they don't do D&D anymore, and I'm scared to know why. It's probably for the same reason certain guys get kicked out, like the stories we've talked about before of guys complaining about how they've had other dudes wanting to get like super gross and dirty and nasty, like more than just dark jokes with D&D. And I have been looking all over the website for this small comic convention, and I cannot seem to find a hygiene policy. Now, I will admit, if you've ever been to a con, you know that sometimes even with the hygiene policies, actually like every time with the hygiene policies, there's always people breaking it, right? There's always those like we talked about MomoCon, we've talked about the ASIN smell, all of that stuff, like about how the 24-hour gaming, like you guys saw the video of us literally having to sit outside of the room and people were like leaving as soon as they smelled it because the freaking panel smelled so bad. So we do know that there's already people that break it, right? But when you add on top of the fact that this con does not seem to even have a hygiene policy, God knows what's going to happen at this convention. I'm going to fully admit that I might not make it through that whole weekend. I appreciate the free tickets. I'm definitely going to go for some. You know, there's a few voice actors, like small ones that I want to see, because Texas is full of voice actors. You got to keep in mind, places like Funimation have their corporate offices here. Like, that's where all that stuff is filmed. So there's a lot of voice actors. We have Chuck Norris to do here. He goes to a lot of conventions. We have a lot of like Power Rangers that have retired here. Like we get so many voice actors that live in Texas. It feels like regular like on-screen actors seem to retire in California, and like so many voice actors seem to retire in Texas. But I will fully admit, I can't guarantee you I'm gonna make it through the whole con. I'm gonna try, okay? I'm probably going to have plenty of stories to tell afterwards. I'm going to be walking around with Vaseline rubbed on my nose. Like, so Vicks Vapor Rub, something so I don't have to smell it as bad. But just for an example of just how bad that other store's reputation is, the one that is sponsoring, is one of the sponsors, because there's multiple sponsors, but one of the sponsors of this event, there is a review on there for this store that somebody wrote about how they were they're a garbage man. Apparently they do the dumpster trucks, which I just want to say is a very good job. I don't know why garbage men get shit, because it's like a really good union job. They get paid pretty well, especially if you're one of the ones around here. We have those fancy automated ones. The dudes don't even get out of the truck. They just so they have two trucks. They'll have one that'll get the excess and one that gets the garbage bins. And the ones that gets the garbage bins, they literally use the machine to dump it, and they will not get out and pick up anything that falls. Like, those dudes have it made. They get paid big bucks too. But a garbage man had left a post about how he had went by to do the dumpsters for that particular game store and found a bunch of shitty adult diapers, like a bunch of them. So it wasn't like, oh, one person had a medical problem and had them. He said there was at least a dozen sitting around, and he saw that like they had a sign on the door talking about how they had a overnight event the night before, so they were going to be opening up late that day, because he said he was like an early morning guy, and he noticed that the store was closed, and he goes and reads the sign, and yeah, so apparently these motherfuckers were literally just, I don't know what the event was. He said he wasn't sure. Like in the post, it says he doesn't know what the event was, but it said that they had an overnight event. They were opening up late, and then they found a bunch of shitty diapers outside of the garbage, like adult shitty diapers. So my guess is they played whatever game, whether it was Magic, Warhammer, or whatever, throughout the night, and a bunch of them wore diapers and decided to shit in them instead of using the toilet for whatever game they were playing, and then just leave them on the side of the dumpster for this poor garbage man to pick up. Which I feel like they should have been fined for, because that is bodily waste. That is biohazard to have that out there. They didn't even put it in the trash can. Like, they didn't put it in the dumpster. They literally left it beside the dumpster. And yes, that is something they can find. Like, biohazard is something they fine for in this area, so they will not pick up biohazardous stuff around here. For example, my neighbor, oh my gosh, this guy drove me nuts with this because a bunch of kids tried to like mess with it. So my neighbor had like remodeled his house, like, and we've done that too. We got a new toilet at one point also, but we had to like take ours down to the dump and stuff, because whatever it's like if it's a toilet, they consider it biohazard, and the city will not pick it up. You have to have somebody special pick it up, or you have to drive it to the dump yourself. And my neighbor ended up getting a fine because he refused. This is the thing that don't make any sense, is this particular neighbor is actually a pretty rich dude, but he's a cheapskate, and he had gotten like a fancy new toilet, and he put the old one out on the curb and refused to pick it up. And he kept like, their kids would be walking home from school. Like, he left it out there for like over a month. And kids would be walking home from school and kept like messing. Little kids kept wanting to mess with it. Like, there was like, because there's the elementary school next door, and sometimes you'll see like a second grader walking home. They're like pre-K brother or sister or whatever, and you literally see them like the little kids trying to use this toilet, like all confused why there was a toilet out there. And it wasn't until the city ended up fining him that he finally like hired somebody to go get it. So I feel like that's what they should have done in that diaper situation. I don't feel like that garbage man should have picked up those shitty adult diapers off of literally a dozen shitty adult diapers outside of the game store. They weren't even in the dumpster. There's no way. If I had been that garbage man, I would have fined them. I would have fined them for every single piece of it, because you can find them per piece of biohazard material. And that's exactly what I would have done. It is a completely different world when somebody has a medical condition. But it is pretty clear in that case that that was not the case. Because I'm telling you, if one adult went through 12 shitty diapers in just a few hours, and that's a whole nother problem. Like, you need to go to the hospital. That was very clearly one of those situations, because that's something the gaming community has talked about before, has been exposed for before, is the adult diaper issue, where they will literally just wear adult diapers when they're gaming, so they don't have to get up from their game. Speaking of, also, I do not remember if I warned people not to eat earlier, but we're going to continue the not eating thing for this segment too, because I fell down the rabbit hole a little bit. My friend's daughter came out as a furry. She is autistic. She has certain social needs and stuff like that, and she was actually her school's mascot at one point, and she learned that she can talk that way because she's nonverbal typically, unless she's really close with somebody. So whenever she was in the mascot costume, though, she could socialize and stuff. So she has decided she is a furry, and I'm trying to be supportive of it. I don't know much about how to make suits and stuff, though, and she came to me because she knows I can sew. I've had an LLC for it. I've been in the news for the 50 wedding dress, all that stuff, right? And I'm like, I don't really know how to do like costumes like that, though, because, and she asked if I could, help her make like an outfit for the outside of her fursuit that she's trying to make. And I was trying to be supportive, and I start trying to look up this stuff. Like, I am just trying to look up how to like do the foam and stuff, because Lord, there is so much that goes into those fancy suits. Those things are expensive, I'll tell you that. Because I was going to be nice and try to like buy her one, and then I looked up how much a fursuit making is, and it's thousands of dollars, and I ain't rich like that. Holy shit, I didn't know I knew furries spent a lot of money on those costumes, but I didn't know they that much money. Dear Lord, what are y'all doing, and what jobs do y'all have? Is that like a requirement to be rich if you're a furry? Because damn, I saw this one person selling a suit for like $15,000 or some shit. Sir, that is an entire fucking car. What do you mean you're spending as much as what? What do you mean that you're like furries are out here balling? But I start going down the rabbit hole trying to find the crafting stuff, and for like how to do this so I can help her, and like look up different ideas on like how we're gonna like pin clothes on it and stuff, right? And if you're unaware of how TikTok works, when you search something, the first few videos you scroll onto are going to be related to that search. But then for some reason, the search just goes haywire and starts showing you random shit. And the farther you scroll, the weirder the shit seems to get. Heck, there's this one particular movie clip that no matter what I search, no matter what I put in that search bar, if I scroll enough videos down on the doom scroll, it will suddenly show that movie clip. I've seen it like 50 times now. completely different searches that have nothing to do with each other, and I somehow still end up on that really like viral movie clip. And I see in the comments all these people being like, oh, back to the FYP, or oh, doom scrolled too, or search too far. So it's not just me seeing it. But during all of that, I get into this doom scroll and I discover something called diaper furries and baby furs. And now when I heard baby furs and diaper furries, so first of all, baby furries, I thought it meant like newbies. So like whenever somebody first starts cosplay, they call them a baby cosplayer, or like if they first start a game, they'll call them like a baby gamer or something. Like that's not what the furry community means at all. I'll tell you that right now. That is not what the furry community, oh my God, what in the actual fuck is going on over there? So apparently there's this whole thing where there's a certain very specific part of the furry community. I want to say it's not all of the furries. I just want to be absolutely clear. It's not the whole community, and apparently a lot of the community does not like these people either. But there's like a thing where these people will wear diapers inside of their fursuit, and it's not because of medical issues. It's because they enjoy shitting themselves inside of the fursuit, and I guess like basking in the aroma, because you got to keep in mind it's like a mascot costume. So you're wearing a diaper inside of a mascot costume, you shit in it, it is just gonna aroma the smell into your whole oh my God, it's so gross. As I said, most of the furry community is not like this. Majority of them seem to hate these people. I found like 5 or 6 different random furries who were like, yeah, these fuckers need to get out of here, we don't want them either. It's basically the furries version of a plob. Like the furries have their own version of a plob. What got me really confused was there's apparently something called poodling or whatever. I don't know. It's something with a P. And I thought it was going to be something gross after I just saw the diaper furry situation. I'm like, oh God. Apparently, though, there's this thing where certain cons and events for furries, you're not allowed to, like, not wear all your costume, and you're apparently supposed to like wear the whole thing the whole time, or if not you get kicked out. Like apparently there's some convention that's like, oh, if you're not covered head to toe, then you're not allowed to be at the convention. And I think that's really stupid, and you're promoting body odor. It's not just unsafe, because like what if they have a heat stroke or something? Like what if they have a medical problem, because like heat and stuff, like those suits are super hot. Like from what I've seen, they're supposed to be super hot, which makes sense, because you're wearing a huge thing over your body and stuff, right? Like, but then to see them be like, oh yeah, you have to wear your suit 24/7 if you're gonna be able to, that would make them stink. I feel like that entire convention is just gonna smell like ass. Because once again, those costumes are like $15,000. I mean, like there are a lot of people who I noticed have like multiples, but there's also a lot of people that seem to only have one. So you're telling me that these people are supposed to wear these costumes 24/7 at the con, other than like when they go back to go to bed, they have to like be in these costumes all day, every day for multiple days in a row? They're gonna stink. That's what's gonna happen. That they're gonna smell bad. There's no way around that, okay? Like, I mean, yeah, do using deodorant and stuff, but if you're wearing the same costume for like, 12, 15 hours a day, because I saw somebody saying that they usually, like, the normal time is 12 to 15 hours, like, throughout the day is, like, their con time. So, like, 12, 15 hours a day, every single day, in one of those hot suits, like, that's just not right. And I saw a bunch of people who were outraged over it, so I guess, like, at least the furry community knows that it's a problem, and they're, like, trying to stop it, but, like, who the fuck? Like, I feel like whoever made that rule is like, yeah, let me bask in the stank. Wouldn't that, like, ruin your suits, too? Like, I don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to learn for my friend's daughter so I can help her. But, like, if you're wearing it that much, like, for several days in a row, like, wouldn't it, like, kind of mess with the fur and stuff? Because, like, I know working with certain fabrics and stuff, like, it's sometimes you basically gets ruined by certain things. You can't like get the smell or the stains out no matter what you do. There are some stuff that's just permanent. So like, wouldn't that be ruining their like thousands of dollars of suits and stuff? I don't know. It's just fucking gross. It's just gross to not bathe, or sorry, not bathe. Well, not bathing is also gross too. But like to not change, like to not take breaks of it where you're just wearing that all the time. Like, come on now. Like, are you guys okay over there? Because you seem to have your own blob infestation going on. Because what the fuck? Like, dear God, that's just so much. And I know there's some amazing, sweet, great human beings who are furries. It is nothing against the actual full furry community. They seem super nice. I've had like a couple of people who've like sent me recommendations and stuff to like help her. And I know there's a lot of ones like my friend's daughter who like have social issues and stuff, and that's why they do this. And they clean themselves and like make sure. I saw people like washing fursuits on TikTok and stuff. But like, to have to deal with that other section of these motherfuckers, like the diaper. What? No, it is the furry version of a plob. It is their version of it. Like the gaming community has these plobs, the anime community has plobs and stuff, and then the incels and everything, and now the furry community's got their own ones too. I want to call them flobs, but that's what we call female plobs. So maybe we'll come up with a new word for the furry community's version, because those poor people over there. How do y'all deal with that? Also, apparently there is a thing where a lot of the baby furries, the ones wearing the diapers, are also mersuiters, which I had to look up what that was. Apparently, mersuiters are the ones that like have coitus in their suits. So my thing is you're telling me some of these motherfuckers are wearing a shitty diaper all day in their hot suit, soaking in the stanky shit, and then having sex parties? What in the scat are you? What the fuck? That's some Dubai shit, okay? That is some Dubai shit. The Dubai porta potties, okay? That's what that shit is. If you don't know, there's a whole thing in Dubai where like rich guys will pay OF models and like super traditionally attractive girls a shit ton of money to physically shit on them. They're called porta potty parties. Fair warning, don't eat while you Google that one. There's plenty of videos on it. There's tons of videos talking about that. They pay them shit tons of money to shit on them. Like, and just everybody goes around shitting on them. And that's what that feels like. That's what that feels like to me. You're telling me you shit in a diaper, wear the suit all day, basking in the shit, making everybody else smell you around you, and then you go and have a sex party. What the actual fuck is wrong with you? No wonder the furry community seems to hate you guys, because like I said, I saw so many videos of people being like, we need these fuckers out, or they're bad people, or like, yeah, I see why. Like, we've been over here complaining about the plobs at the game store, but apparently you've got a whole nother level of plob going on. Like, I thought Magic the Gathering was bad. We are getting to that point where nothing should shock me anymore. I've worked in a trauma yard. I've worked twink. I've worked, I've worked retail and stuff. Nothing should shock me anymore. But somehow something else happens. I swear, it's like every couple of weeks I discover another black hole of a different form of plobs. I apologize for spending so much of this plobcast, this episode on the furry fandom, but I didn't know it was that bad. I'd heard rumors of like gross stuff happen. I didn't know it was that bad though. Before I forget, I do want to thank everybody who babysitted my dad while I went to the store. If you don't get that joke, I posted a video on Father's Day, and if you don't know, the man who raised me that I call my dad, that adopted me when I was little, is passed away. He is cremated, so I make a lot of dark humor jokes about it. And those videos where people are like, oh, can you watch my baby while I go do this or something? I literally made a video with a fucking pile of ashes. Not real. They were just fake stuff. But and I was like, hey, can you watch my dad for me so I can go get him a gift at the store? And I am loving the comments on this. Somebody with the username Satan commented saying, will do. Somebody else was like, I turned away for a second and he seems to be half gone. And I was like, yeah, that's just the Ozempic working. Another guy said he opened a window and he blew away. And I was like, oh yeah, it's fine. He's just going out for milk and cigarettes. I'm sure he'll be back. I love that there's so many people who can take that joke, and like a lot of people who also have passed away parents that will, make jokes and stuff with me too, because it is a whole different situation when I say that shit in public. Like, if I make that joke on the internet, there's so many amazing people who, laugh at it. They'll make jokes too. We'll join in. But I have made the mistake of accidentally making like dead dad jokes in person. Like, not this Father's Day, but last Father's Day. I remember I can't even remember where we were at a store or something. And I ran into somebody that my friend knew, because it was me and my friend out, and she knew, and like the girl was like telling us like Happy Father's Day, and was like, oh yeah, I must, what is your plans for the night? And I was like, oh yeah, it's just me and the old Ouija board. And she was like, what the fuck? And I was like, oh yeah, because my dad's dead. And she's like, you shouldn't joke about that kind of stuff. That's so offensive. Shut up. I'm sorry. Look, I'm the one with a freaking dead parent, okay? Let me joke. Speaking of dark humor jokes, if I covered this a little bit at the front of the first bit of the podcast, but that girl that we, saw who was masturbating at freaking Disney World and stuff, one of her followers was like, well, you're just as bad for making that one joke, because there's a picture of me. There's actually two pictures of me at Universal. I went to so if you don't know, Universal is different than Disney. Universal, so while Disney is mostly focused on kids, even though it's for all ages, Universal actually has like themed nights, and they like City Walk, part of Universal, has a tattoo parlor. They have a 21 plus club. They have bars. They have, they have themed nights where it's just adults, where you can go through the Orlando exhibitor or something. I can't remember what the name of it is, but they have all these different theme nights that is just adults and stuff. And I make this funny joke. They have like this random couch, right? It's from some show I've never seen, but it's like a random couch that's like not an actual couch, but like one of those plastic fake. It's a prop couch, right? And you can sit on it. And so whenever we went to one of those like a parents' night out things, I sat cross-legged on the couch. I am fully dressed. I am not touching myself or anything dirty or like nasty. But I sit cross-legged on the couch, took a picture, and we make a joke about it. And I posted, and I was like, the pose, like, if you know, making a joke about like the one chick with the couch picture. There is a world of difference in that, though. That's why I just laughed at that person. Like, you're a hypocrite. Because no, I'm not. That is a whole different thing. I was at an adults only event, fully dressed, not doing anything sexual at all, making a joke that if you've never seen the original source, have no idea what it even is. That woman was literally fucking masturbating around children in Disney World. That is a whole different thing. There's a difference in making like a little funny hee dark humor joke and being actually inappropriate. Like, I will warn you guys now, when we go to Orlando after we visit Fandom, you guys are probably going to see me do a video of me like in line for a roller coaster or something, and I'm going to be like, notice how I'm not talking about fucking gender reassignment surgery around children. Very cutesy, very demure, because I have no problem throwing shade at Lily Tino because of the damage she has done to the queer community. I cannot stand that woman. Most of the queer community cannot stand that woman because she does irresputable damage to it by doing this shit. I swear, that whole theory that she's a government plant, I'm starting to believe it. I really am. Of course, if I do that, I'm going to make sure that it is standing off to the side where nobody can hear me, and there's not kids in the background and shit. Like over at the Simpsons world, stand off to the corner away from everybody, instead of, being right there next to children. I apologize for being a broken record on that topic, but because of Pride Month, there are so many videos on Lily Tino, and with everything she's been doing, it just continues to get worse. People finding more and more stuff that she's, being inappropriate. She keeps doubling down and tripling down on her bad actions, especially as someone who has had to deal with hate crimes for liking women. To see someone make a mockery of the gay community by doing this, and the trans community by doing this bullshit, and also just being a predator. That's what that is. Lily Tino is a freaking predator. There's a video that just started going viral a day ago of her talking about inappropriate topics with a literal child. So I do apologize that you guys have to hear me rant about this repeatedly. I don't like having to waste time on her, but it's also an important discussion to have. So let's cut the Lily Tino. Let's go leave her lumberjack ass in the woods somewhere and drop that. We are going to go a few minutes over the hour just because I do want to remind everybody of a quick little important thing, and that is to make sure that you are checking back and checking around sources, even with news channels sometimes, because of a local event that happened recently. If you don't know, Fort Hood had an active shooter incident where they were doing lockdown and everything, and the story repeatedly changed with the news. They very much tried to slide it under the rug. Luckily, a lot of soldiers and a lot of spouses have cell phones now. Everybody's got cell phones now, and they were able to record stuff, and they were posting it and calling the news out. You might have seen my video on it, you might not have, but in short, Saturday afternoon, we get a notification. My husband's an NCO, and he's getting the notification, hey, like, let your soldiers know. The alarms are going off on base. People recorded the alarms going off saying, hey, there's an active shooter, or lockdown, stay outside, stay inside. I had all these friends who were checking on me because, I have friends that I served with that are now active, that are still active duty and now at this base also. And there ended up, people started live streaming. There was actually a guy who was on base and is a soldier who was arrested, right? Well, right after he's arrested, within like 10 minutes, you hear the clearing, everybody's getting cleared. Hey, we're no longer under lockdown. Like, there's no longer a threat, right? People started screenshotting the news trying to cover it up because one news article initially said, oh, never mind, it was a planned drill. There was nothing that went on. They didn't go under lockdown. And locals were like, yeah, so here's some video. You guys are full of shit. It was not a planned drill. Look, right here. This is real. And so then they switched it and said, oh, no, because people were also pointing out there, like, if it was a drill, the news wouldn't have been involved at all, because they would have told people, there would have been a warning that went out, they would have said this is a drill. There's like a whole procedure for drills and stuff. So then they changed it and said, oh, somebody accidentally, tripped the alarm, like, or somebody accidentally pulled the alarm. And people pointed out, that's not how that works at all. There's a multiple step thing. It's not just some like random fire alarm or something. There's a whole multi-step process. So then people pointed that out, and the news updated it once again. This is all from the same news site. People were screenshotting them, updating the damn article every 30 minutes, changing their story. And then the story was, oh, it actually happened off base, like half an hour away, and there was just somebody accidentally thought it was on Fort Hood. And people were like, no, here's a video of a guy getting arrested, like, by the MPs on base. You can clearly see the base freaking housing in the back. And so then their story changed to, they updated it again and said, oh, no. Actually, it was just an altercation between two people. It was a misunderstanding. It was just an altercation between two people. That's, there wasn't a real threat. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? People, there was somebody in my comments, and they still have the pictures up in my comments on this. Now, a couple of them got removed for some reason, but most of them were still up, and people were screenshotting the news articles, changing back to back to back, and them changing the story over and over again. And sadly, this is something that happens a lot at military bases, especially Fort Hood. If you don't know Vanessa Gullin, if you can search her up, this happened a few years ago. It's a really sad story. A similar situation happened with her, where she went missing. The family was pushing to be like, hey, where's my daughter? She hasn't answered. And the base lied to their faces. It is well documented, because other soldiers documented it too, and the family did too, where they were even putting on unit pages and stuff, oh, she's just AWOL. There's no need to panic, because she's not missing. She's AWOL. She told a bunch of people she was going to leave the army, that she didn't want to be here anymore, which was a complete lie that never ever happened. She later, then her body was found. She'd been killed by another soldier. And that is when the base started running PR real quick and started deleting all of the stuff they said. Luckily, soldiers and the family and stuff kept all that stuff. Trying to say, oh, no, we never said she was AWOL. We never said no, we've been looking for her the whole time. We swear we've been looking for her. And luckily, her family pushed and pushed, so the public ended up finding out the truth. Other soldiers were pushing and exposed. Yeah, they tried to cover it up. The saddest part is, in all reality, if they had not found Vanessa's body, to this day, they would still sit there and have those posts up, lying, claiming she just left, because they don't want the bad PR. They care more about their PR than they care about their soldiers. Fort Hood is, and that's not every single person. There are good commanders out there. There are good first sergeants. There's good leaders. There are good people. There are good people towards the top of the military, but not all of them. There are a lot that care more about PR than fixing the actual problem. For example, there are a lot of soldiers who've exposed the Darnell situation. If you don't know, Darnell is the hospital on Fort Hood. They spent millions of dollars making a new hospital. So I was actually active duty. I was one of the last people to ever give birth at the original hospital, because I had my son right before they switched over to it. So like half the building was already empty. So they made this big giant hospital, and they went all over the news. You can find all these news articles talking about how we spent millions of dollars for this state-of-the-art hospital, because we're going to have all these specialists and all this mental health, especially because it's been mental health month, so this is an important conversation to have. But like, we're going to have all these resources for soldiers and everything. Look, they do tours showing all of these different specialty offices within the hospital. They have a whole separate building they spent millions of dollars making, with all of these specialists, right? But if you go in there right now, you can go in any day of the week, you walk into that hospital, it looks like a ghost town, because while they do have the ER operating and they do have some specialists and stuff, the reason why it constantly looks like a ghost town is they don't have all of those specialist office opens. It's been years, and they have never reopened them. They've never even had some of these specialists. They had like one cardiologist at one point, and he was like rotating between stuff. Their gastro didn't even have a full-time doctor. Like, these were these offices are just dark. You walk through the hall and like you have to walk through like 7 or 8 dark office, like completely dark sections for specialists because they don't have the specialists. A lot of people have asked me, oh, why aren't you going on base for your gastro and your neurology and stuff? It's because they don't have them on base. That's why they're sending me to a civilian provider, half an hour away. And it's not just me. There are thousands of soldiers and veterans who have talked about this, because there was a veteran about a year ago who literally did a video where he recorded himself walking through up and down like every floor of the hospital, showing all of these empty offices and how they were lying and saying that they had all this, state of the art, they were going to take such good care of all these soldiers and veterans, and then they didn't. Heck, they don't even have the cafeteria fully staffed because they have a Starbucks in there, and everybody ends up having to pay for Starbucks because cafeteria is not even open half the time because they won't even keep that shit staffed. They have the fancy MRI machines and everything, and people are like, why does it take months to get an appointment? Because they don't have enough staff. I've had workers there flat out admit, like, when I had to have a scan, they end up pushing me off post. Like, I have already been told, even by my main provider, do not go to the emergency room on base because they don't have the specialty, and they will just send me out if that were to happen. Like, if I were to need, because of my issues from my old army injuries, I need specialists, and they flat out, they're like, yeah, go straight to Scott and White, don't even bother with Darnell. And I did try a couple of times when I had some gastro emergency, and they straight up, transferred me in an ambulance over to Scott and White. I actually recently had someone reach out to me that I'm going to be talking to that works at an inpatient facility, a civilian one, that is wanting to help try to make some more resources in the area for veterans, because I was talking about wanting to open that local Battle Buddies chapter. If you don't know, I started a YouTube. I am trying to get enough views to start monetizing on there so we can save up all the money on there to open a local Battle Buddies chapter, because it does cost some money to like have a building to have volunteers and stuff in and supplies in for veterans in crisis. It would be 100% nonprofit. It would be ran by volunteers, but it's so that we can provide resources to veterans in crisis. I'm still learning how to do all of that stuff, though. That's why I haven't posted on YouTube in like a month, because I am struggling to learn the editing. Luckily, like I said, when I go on vacation, I have a family member whose spouse is all into all that IT software stuff and is going to help me learn stuff. Because I've had some creator friends try to teach me, and I feel like they forget that you got to talk to me like I'm stupid when it comes to software stuff. I have no idea how to do any of that editing stuff. And they'll be like, just use this program and that program. Or they'll recommend me a manager, and I will never do a manager because, yeah, there's so much wrong with content managers. I'm not saying they're all bad. There are some good ones out there, but there's also some really shady ones. I'll probably cover that on Thursday's podcast to warn people about that, why you should look over your contracts and everything. Plus, that takes away money from the domestic violence shelter, because all of my TikTok money goes to the DV shelter. Speaking of, I have had some creators who have sent me some nasty messages, a couple of them who saw my last live from, where I was showing me donating it, because they're like, they were mad that I did that, because I guess now some of their followers saw me doing that and are now kind of like leaving comments on theirs being like, hey, so whenever you say you're fundraising, can you go live and show us that you're actually freaking donating the money? And so I pissed off some creators that way, which my thing is if you're actually donating it, like you say, then you should have no problem doing what I do and going live and showing you actually donating it. Yes, it is against the creator fund to show the actual creator fund page, but you're allowed to show your PayPal, where you're allowed to show your deposit and show you donating it. So there's no excuse. And to be clear, as I've always said, I have no problem. Like, I'm not saying every creator should donate all their money or anything like that. I have a day job. I have a career. I am also 100% disabled veteran. That's why I'm able to do this. Now I know there's plenty of content creators who, that's their full job. So that's not me saying that everybody should donate every penny or anything crazy like that. I'm just saying, if you post videos saying you're going to donate, maybe prove it, because some of them will be lying to get extra views. Yeah. Well, I apologized on such a more serious, sad note, talking about serious issues. But please go eat now that it's safe to eat. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Please hydrate, eat. Also keep in mind, it is super hot out. Make sure you're wearing sunblock. You do not want to look like Leatherface. Also, I saw somebody saying that if you're not white, like if you're black or you're a darker brown, you don't need sunblock. Yes, you do. Please don't. What the hell? It also was a white person saying that. They had like a black husband and was saying that like her husband didn't have to wear sunblock. Please wear sunblock regardless of the color of your skin. The sun rays you're still at risk for skin cancer. So even if you are darker skinned, you might not, turn red like a lobster like white people, but you still, there's the sun cancer, or sorry, skin cancer risk and everything. So please still use sunblock. I don't. Why the hell was that? What the heck is that woman talking? I'm sorry. I just wanted to warn people in case anybody believed that you still need to have sunblock on, no matter the color of your skin. Anybody can get skin cancer. We don't want you to get skin cancer. Please, everyone, make sure that they're using sunblock.